Welcome back. It's 8 p.m. in New Hampshire. Polls are now officially closed across the state, and Fox News can now project that Donald Trump will win the Republican presidential primary based on Fox exit polls and early voting returns. In the all-important battle for second place on the Republican side, Ohio Governor John Kasich is currently slightly ahead of Texas Senator Ted Cruz, Florida Senator Marco Rubio, and former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, although it's too early to say in what order these four will finish tonight. And there you see the numbers on the screen. Again, this is exit poll numbers and raw vote total in. There's only 4% in there. Trump's victory, while expected, is a comeback of sorts for the real estate mogul. Last week, of course, he was beaten by Ted Cruz in Iowa. He regains his front-runner status in a crowded field that now places even greater importance on who will finish second, third, even fourth tonight. You have Kasich currently in the second position, but as far as the others, they are bunched up in third, and the other interesting development is Chris Christie, who is mired in single digits tonight with Carly Fiorina and, at this moment, Dr. Ben Carson. Again, too early to make a call in that effort.
On the Democratic side, we have news as well. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders will decisively win the Democratic presidential primary here in New Hampshire. And the second place finisher will, of course, be former Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton, who last week barely eked out a victory over Sanders in Iowa. Sanders' back-to-back strong performances give him significant momentum in a nominating contest once considered a cakewalk for Mrs. Clinton, who won New Hampshire 8 years ago. However, tonight it was not to be. And now the question in this race will be, by how much has he beaten her?
Let's bring in our panel. Fox News senior political analyst Britt Hume, USA Today columnist and Fox News contributor Kirsten Powers, senior writer at the Weekly Standard, and Fox News contributor Steve Hayes. Britt, thoughts?
Well, the Federation of the Fed Up, it appears, has carried the day in the Republican Party at least, and it may indeed do the same in the Democratic Party, which gives you an idea of the atmosphere in our nation's political system, because the voters that were for Trump are people who consistently we've seen in polling, in this exit polling tonight, are people who have had it with the standard politicians. Now, whether this will carry how far this will carry forward into the upcoming states is anybody's guess, but that's where we are, and this establishes as well as anything we've seen.
Let's stay on the Republican side and just look at this. This changes the dynamic, Steve, in New Hampshire. Trump made 46 stops here, only held 11 town halls, 23 days total here. Compare that to John Kasich, who had 190 stops, 104 town halls, spent 62 days here. He's fighting for second. Looks like he may finish second before the end of the night, but it changes this place, this whole election.
It sure does, and there's a spending gap, too. Trump spent $3.7 million here. Kasich spent $12.1. You go up to Jeb Bush, he spent $36 million here. Look, this is a huge victory for Donald Trump. It looks like, I mean, it's early, but it looks like he's almost doubling the second place finisher. I mean, that is just an extraordinary win for somebody who came from outside of politics, who's campaigned here, as you say. You placed a lot of emphasis here. You heard him in the days after Iowa say that he thought the voters of New Hampshire were more like him, were more likely to support him, more likely to be open to the kinds of things that he was saying, that he was campaigning on. And I think Britt is right. It sends a signal about just how fed up voters here in particular were. And the final point I'd make about Trump, if you look at the issue breakdown, the issue-by-issue breakdown, Donald Trump won every single issue. And he won every single issue decisively, as you might expect, given the top-line result. It's a pretty clean, clear, and convincing win for Trump.
They have been in his corner since June. I mean, he has been at the top of the leaderboard here since, I think, mid-June. He's almost fallen below that in almost no polls. And over on the Democratic side, Kirsten, if you look at the polling, a year ago, Hillary Clinton was up by, I think, 56 points in this state. And now tonight, she has lost New Hampshire after she barely won Iowa. And when you look at the numbers on the polling, honest and trustworthy, which one of these four qualities mattered the most to you? If you cared about your candidate being honest and trustworthy, the latest numbers show 92% voted for Bernie Sanders, just 6% voted for Hillary. How does that, I mean, we saw terrible numbers for her on honest and trustworthy in Iowa, too. How does that bode for her going forward?
Well, I think it doesn't bode well for her, but I think what actually bodes worse for her is the fact that he is winning people that typically would have gone for her, the people who went for her when she was running against Obama. So people who are making under $50,000 were voting for Hillary Clinton. This time, in the latest numbers, it's 62% of them went for Bernie Sanders. And even if you go up to, under 100,000, still 63% are going to Bernie Sanders. When you go to 100,000 or more, now you've got 50%. But it's 50-49. He's winning every demographic, essentially. And if you go through all the polls, he's winning every demographic. But he's most importantly winning the demographics that were her demographics in 08.
Brett?
Just for all of the anger that we talk about, there's a divide between the two parties in optimism about the future, which I think is interesting. On the Republican side, you ask the question, do you expect the life of the next generation of Americans to be better than life today? That's 43%. That's a plurality. You put it with about the same number, you get to 64% who thinks things will be better or about the same. In the Democratic Party, it's worse than life today gets 38, and about the same gets 36. Only 25% say that life will be better going forward. So the Republican Party, at least in this electorate, in this state tonight, is more optimistic despite all the anger expressed in the result for Donald Trump.
There's not a lot of, there's not a lot of drama, obviously, in these first place calls. But, Steve, when you look at the fight for second and third, second looks like it's lining up for John Kasich. But third place between these establishment figures, Bush, not so much in Cruz. He's not establishment, but he is fighting for third place.
Yeah, I think that's,
and Rubio.
That's likely to be the other story coming out of here. If this clot of these second, third place finishers remains, or even if it's close, if you have a number of candidates in the teens, for instance, or in the low double digits, I think that you have potentially 5 candidates who move on from here, go on to South Carolina, go on to the March 1st, go on to Nevada, go on to the March 1st contests. I think you're likely to hear from Jeb Bush's campaign. They're already spending money in these states that are down the road. Ted Cruz's campaign has done tremendous amount of planning, get out the vote operations, groundwork in these states that are in front of us. Marco Rubio's campaign, the same thing. And I think John Kasich's campaign, if he does in fact come in second here, he will have the most immediate work to do. He spent all of his time here, some 100 days, I believe. He did 106 town halls. He focused on New Hampshire. He bet his candidacy on New Hampshire. He's hoping that a second place finish propels him forward into these other states. I think it most certainly will. And the question will be for Kasich, how does he scramble to build some kind of operation in South Carolina and beyond?
Even if he does finish in second place, John Kasich here tonight, will emerge from New Hampshire with 1-1. Cruz won Iowa, and Trump won New Hampshire. So what does that mean, Britt, as we head into South Carolina?
Well, it's worth remembering this when people are thinking about whether Marco Rubio, who looks like he's going to finish third or fourth tonight, can go forward. Since Iowa and New Hampshire became the two twin early pillars of this primary season 40 years ago, when Jimmy Carter won Iowa and put it on the map, no Republican has ever lost both of those states and went on to be elected president.
Wow. That's
not true in the Democratic side, where Bill Clinton lost both and spun himself into being the comeback kid and went on to win.
Can I just make a quick point about the importance of debates? I think we're looking at a situation where debates have really mattered in these last 2 contests. In Iowa, you look at Donald Trump skipping the debate. Even he acknowledged in the aftermath that probably cost him a significant number of votes. In this race, you look at the debate performance that Marco Rubio had, and not just the performance itself. I mean, he had obviously some bad moments at the beginning, but then finished much better. But look beyond that. Look at the coverage. Look at what people have been talking about almost incessantly for the last couple of days, and you see a major difference in where late deciders went in New Hampshire versus Iowa. Marco Rubio won late deciders in Iowa, won voters who made their decision either on caucus day or in the last few days. In New Hampshire, Marco Rubio came in 4th among those voters, behind Donald Trump, John Kasich, and Jeb Bush. All won more of those. And then the final point, 90% said that the debate was a factor in their decision. Only 8% said it wasn't a factor.
All right, panel, stand by. Thank you.